Kristen Brinley, the publisher of DC Metro Real Producers. I'm here with Mark Lowham of TTR Sotheby's. Thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure, Kristen.
Well, it's an honor to have you on, and you are on our November cover as well. And if y'all didn't check it out, page 52, make sure you do. He has a wonderful story. And, Mark, normally I start out by giving a couple different stats and things, and you've sold like over $1 billion and all that good stuff. And, have your own records you're going after again this year. But we spoke about the footprint you leave in your community and the things you really care about. And that is that footprint in the community and what you give back. And so I'd love to hear a little bit about how you feel about that, and then why real estate. So we'll cut to the chase like that instead of,
I like it. Well, first of all, let me just say thank you to you and Real Producers. I think in an industry that by definition is independent, where people work independently and they can be very isolated, your organization brings people together. And I think that's so powerful. Not only does it serve the agents in the industry well, it serves the community well. So thank you for everything you're doing at Real Producers.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark. I very much appreciate that. So now tell us about, you and the footprint. So I know you support a lot of different, charities. Like, what's most important on that front for you right now? And, how did you end up, running the TTR Sotheby's for this whole area?
So, my background was in commercial real estate. For 23 years, I was with a firm called West Group, which was one of the original commercial development firms of Northern Virginia. In fact, the original developer of Tyson's Corner. And so I joke, I told people, for 23 years, I practiced this role because when you're in the commercial development business, it's really important that you're engaged and active in the community. I joke and I say, you never want to go to the Board of Supervisors and introduce yourself. So when you're going through the zoning and entitlement process, when you're developing large commercial or residential projects, it's really important for the people in the community to know who you are. So I had a lot of practice at West Group. So when I transitioned in 2011 to TTR Sotheby's International Realty, I already had this sort of background of being involved in the Washington community. And I've continued that. And when I was in my role at West Group, I would often see who was in the room, who was participating. Frankly, I was surprised that I didn't see more of our residential real estate counterparts. And so I just made that one of the sort of fundamental tenets of how we were going to go forward at TTR Sotheby's International Realty. And I said then, and I continue to say today, I want our associates, including myself, not only to lead markets, but to lead the communities in which we live and work. And that's what we've been doing.
I love that. And, it's so important as well, like to be involved in that process for the developments in the area, for people to really understand like the property values and what's about to happen and what's coming. And I think that's a beautiful thing to bring to the picture for everybody.
Like as an example, specifically the Tysons today is nothing like the Tysons of 30 years ago when I first went to work there. So it's really interesting, exciting, makes me feel terribly old to see it evolve like it has. But it's also very satisfying to know that there is progress, and our community, the Washington community, is incredibly dynamic. It's not going to stop being dynamic, and it will continue to change. So as real estate professionals, it's important for us to understand the trajectory of those changes, to really understand where we're going as a community. The best way to do that is to be involved in the community and not just be an observer.
You have had such a journey with like helping run all the offices. What's been most challenging in this journey for you, do you think?
Challenges of sort of being a real estate agent or be a real estate broker on a day-to-day basis were something it took me some time to get used to. In my previous position, it was sort of a corporate position and it was more predictable. I think the unpredictability, the sort of random quality of each and every day that we experience as real estate agents is something that's taken me some time to get used to. And I'm not sure I'm still quite there, but I'm working on it. We do our very best to sort of keep our families and our own personal lives on track, but sometimes our clients have another view. And so we have to do, every day is a challenge to balance those.
It is challenging for routine, right? So there's not any set routine in the real estate. Like you set your own as much as you can, but things happen.
The beauty of it is no 2 days are ever the same. It's very exciting in many respects, but it's also challenging as a parent. I have two children, 17 years old now, twins, a boy and a girl, and being present, being available to make sure that I'm being a good parent, a good dad, sometimes is very challenging. And I know a lot of professionals in real estate experience that as well.
Speaking of family, tell us a little bit more, like what about hobbies outside of work and, things you all like to do as a family? Tell us a little about your family.
So I think my family is really my greatest achievement. My husband and I have been together 30 years, and we decided, some 20 years ago that we had a wonderful life, but we really wanted to see if we could start a family. And this was going back 20 years, we didn't have a lot of precedent for that. So we ended up engaging a surrogate in California. Our children were born in San Diego, 17 years ago. And it's certainly without question the best thing we've ever done. So today, now we're faced with the parents of 17-year-old twins. So that has a whole different set of challenges. Now we're beginning this college search. We're trying to manage high school, SAT and ACT prep, and all the sort of challenges that go with managing children who have 24/7 access to social media, like any other parent. So, that part of my life is very busy, but without question, the most satisfying part of it.
Well, and thank you for blazing the trail. My spouse and I, we decided to have our daughter 8 years ago, and best thing we ever did. Yeah.
No question. It took us a while to figure out how to make it happen, but I'm really glad that we pursued it. And it's, again, been the most satisfying thing that we've ever done. So.
Well, so what is, when it comes to real estate, what has been the most rewarding piece of what you do at TTR? Like what's most rewarding for you?
Without question, the most rewarding part of my job is to watch the professionals here grow in their careers. I've watched people who were quite young, just getting started, grow into be some of the top agents in the Washington metropolitan area. And I'd like to think that I have just a little part in that, but it's certainly, we have a team now around our associates, helping them develop their professional development skills, helping them build their business each and every year. And it's really exciting for me and satisfying for me to watch that happen. I can think of a young man who joined us maybe 7 years ago, and he was selling at that time respectable, maybe $5 or $6 million worth of real estate a year. He just sold close to $180 million last year, and he's on track to do even better than that in 2022. So it's exciting to see these young, very hardworking people, come forward and realize their own potential. And, again, I think hopefully the firm here is providing them a platform, and I'm providing them the tools and resources they need to do that.
Well, and speaking of being able to achieve your dreams and goals, how has real estate done that for you? And it sounds like it probably is for that young man.
I'll tell you, it's my only regret, if I have a regret, is that I didn't start this a little bit sooner. I loved what I did at West Group. I loved being in the commercial development space. But what we were doing, my husband and I were doing residential real estate for fun on the side. So during the 23 years I was at West Group, we built, bought, or sold 16 different houses. And it's something that we did because we enjoyed it. It also helped us make a little extra money, but we really enjoyed it. And we used a number of very good, agents here in the Washington area to help us along the way. And so in 2010, when we sold West Group, I thought, well, what is it that I really love? And I literally had a revelation. I said, well, wait a minute, it's residential real estate. This is what I've been doing for fun. Why don't I do it as a career? So that's what opened up this opportunity at TTR, Sotheby's International Realty, for me. And if I have any regret, it's just that I wish we had done it a few years sooner.
I actually I explore questions, and I love that that whole evolution started with a quality question, like what do I enjoy, right? What do you think have been the questions that have most impacted your life? Like what questions do you ask yourselves or ask the agents that's very impactful, do you think? Can you think of like a couple of questions that
I want to make sure I adhere to this every day. I remind myself, first of all, am I having fun with what I'm doing? And the answer has always been yes, fortunately. Second question I ask myself is, am I proud of what I'm doing? And am I proud of the way I'm doing it? And, fortunately, the answer to that's been yes as well. But I think those two things are something we should ask ourselves each and every day. Are we enjoying what we're doing? And are we proud of what we're doing and the way we're accomplishing it? And if you can answer yes to those two questions, I think your day's off to a good start.
I would have to agree. Well, what books or classes, or is there a certain one that you would recommend for other real producers out there or other agents, like any books or classes you'd recommend?
Sure. I'm a huge fan of professional development. We've got to continue to engage in education and professional skills, no matter how old you are now. I'm almost 60 years old. And so, it's really important that even I continue to do this. But one of my favorite professional development skills for people in sales and for people in residential real estate in particular, I'm a huge fan of the ninja selling. And so, we now at TTR have almost 80% of our associates have gone through ninja training. When they arrive at TTR, we give them the ninja book. And then we host 3 or 4 different ninja installations every year here at the firm. And then we encourage our associates to travel for ninja installations around the United States. So we've seen tremendous results with that. I've personally done it. And I think it's the best thing that I've done since I was in graduate school. I really took a lot away from it. It was a reminder of how to not only hone my professional skills, but keep that balance that we were talking about, that balance of personal and professional, that tug of war that happens every day, particularly in residential real estate.
That makes a ton of sense. What about quotes? So do you have any favorite quotes from anything?
The chairman of West Group was a great man named Jerry Halpin, and he used to tell me every day that, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, just, pack it up and go fishing. And so I'm reminded of that all the time. By the way, I'm from Wyoming, so, I know a lot of good fishing holes. But I think that it's really important that we remind ourselves, if we're not enjoying what we're doing, let's think about doing something else. These lives that we have are very, very short, and we need to enjoy each and every moment.
That brings up the question that I love, and I think it's really a great question to ask ourselves too, is what would you like to be remembered for, Mark?
Well, I think, there are 2 things I want to be remembered for. First of all is I want to be remembered as a great parent for our 2 children, Elizabeth and Alexander. That's really my most important legacy, without question. The second thing, though, I think, is I want to be remembered as somebody who really took seriously this role of being a leader in the Washington community, who really invested not only my time and resources, but, my energy, my spirit, my enthusiasm for, helping those in our community who really needed a hand be lifted up. And so I think, again, as a parent and as a community leader, if I can be remembered as having made a positive impact in both of those, then I think I will have lived a successful life.
I believe those are some pretty good measures of life right there. How about what sets you apart or makes you different, do you think, Mark, when it comes to residential real estate? What sets you apart, makes you different?
Well, I'm probably the only real estate agent you're going to meet from Wyoming here in the Washington area. By the way, behind me is a map of the ranch that I grew up on in central Wyoming, called the Cannon Ranch. So I found this map in one of the old barns from one of my recent trips to Wyoming. So I had it framed to remind me of where I came from. I think that I think in going back to Wyoming for a second, Wyoming has 500,000 people in the whole state. My father was a real estate broker. He had his own firm. He sold ranches in the state of Wyoming. In fact, I keep a picture of him here. That's him seated with his white hat and his real estate agents at a little firm called Lowham Associates. And he sold ranches in Wyoming, Colorado, and Montana. But my father always told me that, you've got to treat people like you're going to see them again. Because in Wyoming, frankly, you do. Such a small state. And that really has served me well. Here in Washington, where, even though we have several million people live in the Washington metropolitan area, I treat people like I'm going to see them again tomorrow. And that has served me very, very well. So I'm grateful for the background I have from Wyoming, where I grew up in such a small place that was the reality, because it now is the reality for me living here in the Washington metropolitan area.
Well, Mark, it's a joy to have you on. I'm glad you're on one of our covers. You're on the November cover. If anyone hasn't read it, make sure you do. And y'all heard it here at Real Producers. Thanks very much for being
Kristen,
on.
thank you. And again, thanks for everything you're doing at Real Producers. And I look forward to celebrating with you at your upcoming event in May.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.